Hello and welcome back to another instalment of Northern Coins. I'm going to be doing something slightly different from my brief history of. We're going to be taking a look at these two coins, but what do they have in common? This is the Battle of Hastings, 1066. This was first minted in 2016, and the abolition of the slave trade, and that was minted in 2007. And what does these two coins have in common? In 1066, Harold Godwin is killed by an arrow when a French-speaking Duke of Viking descent called William the Bastard, or as we know him today, William the Conqueror, defeated Harold at the Battle of Hastings. One of the first things he did was to have a record of everything in the country of England. That's every man, woman, child, sheep, pig, cow, house, recorded into a book. We know that book as the Domesday Book. In around 1086, 10% of the recorded population of England was slaves. But 20 years earlier, William had enacted a series of laws, one of which prohibited the slave trade out of England. And the law read, I prohibit the sale of any man by another outside the country on pain of fine to be paid in full to me. So if you wanted to own slaves, you had to pay the king. Within about a decade, slavery had almost died out in England. In 1102, a national synod at Westminster denounced slavery. This made England a very unique case. There was probably no other country in the world at that time that had outlawed slavery. We're going to flash forward now 700 years. The international slave trade, which this comes into, was in full swing, yet we did not have the slave trade in England. Step forward, Granville Sharp. He was one of the first English campaigners for the abolition of the slave trade. And this is one of the cases that began the abolition of the slave trade. On the 13th of January 1772, Sharp, or Grenville Sharp, was visited by James Somerset from Virginia. After evading slave hunters, Somerset had been caught and put on a slave ship. At his trial over 6 hearings from January 1772 to May 1772, the judge delivered his judgment on June 22nd, 1772. It was a clear victory for Somerset. The judge acknowledged that English law did not allow slavery, and only an Act of Parliament changing that would make it so. This did not end slavery. However, the judge decreed a slave becomes free the moment he sets foot on English soil. We had to wait till 1807 for it to be totally made illegal in the British Empire. You only have to take a look at the times or the period for enlightened thinkers. In Britain, we had the abolition of the slave trade, and the 13 colonies broke away to form the United States of America. Now this one, it's not a poem. I'm not going to read you a poem. This is a song. However, it's the story of the man who wrote this song. John Newton was a slave trader. He trafficked thousands of men, women and children. And in 1748, a violent storm threatened to sink his ship. He fell to his knees and prayed to God. John Newton sensed that there is a God who hears and answers prayers, even to the worst of men. He became a preacher, and in 1772 he wrote a hymn called Faith's Review and Expectation, a song we know as today, Amazing Grace. So the next time you hear that, and it is such a beautiful song, I've heard it at Edinburgh Castle with the bagpipes, over 100 bagpipes playing, and it just brings tears to your eyes. just think the next time you hear that it is about the slave trade. So that's just a little bit of a history behind it. Some of it I didn't know, that it was first in 1086. But if you're enjoying this little series I'm doing, please like, and if you haven't already, subscribe. But definitely leave a comment anyway. I always enjoy reading them, and I will get back to you. Thank you.